Hi everyone, welcome back to Lockdown Lessons 11. And with me today, I've got Craig Boucher from Connect Business Solutions. So firstly, just like to say hello to you, Craig.
Phil, very good to meet you again, and thank you for this opportunity.
Fantastic, no problem at all. So I suppose the best thing to do firstly, the best way to kick off, Craig, is just for you just to introduce yourself to those of us that are listening right now and just let us know exactly what Connect Business Solutions do and how you help people.
Okay, certainly. Well, as mentioned, I'm Craig Boucher. I'm the director, or one of the directors at Connect Business Solutions. We're a UK-based business process outsourcing company, and we explore with organizations in various sectors the business case for the outsourcing or the offshoring of certain services. The sectors that we mainly focus on are the likes of the financial, accounting, insolvency, legal, especially when it comes to conveyancing and insurance. But equally, we really enjoy working with startups on various levels. It's always difficult for startups to get a balance between growth and the investment in staff to satisfy and achieve that growth, and therefore outsourcing works quite well for them. Our services include admin-intensive functions, which are very much process-driven, as well as your contact type services, call center approach. We have our main outsourcing partners are based out in Durban, South Africa. And I'm not sure if everybody is aware of this, but South Africa won the Global Destination of the Year Award in 2018 for BPO services. And since then, Durban is the fastest growing city in South Africa for various reasons, other than what we already know as to be a very favorable exchange rate, which sits currently at about 21 Rand will buy you £1. Durban has, and one of the reasons why Durban is growing the way it is Durban has always been traditionally referred to, or affectionately referred to, as the last outpost. And that's because of the close cultural affinity that has always been shared between Durban and the UK. Durban is predominantly an English first language city, so it's always, the language coming out of Durban has always been regarded as what they call English neutral. And also not forgetting that, historically many South Africans, they've come over to the UK and they've done pretty well for themselves in the sectors of banking, finance, legal, insurance. I'm sure everybody at some stage has had the misfortune of working with a South African as a colleague. But, unfortunately, the new generation are unable to come over due to visa restrictions. And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking more about your working holiday visas that are no longer applicable. So this new generation is unable to come over, and they are unable to showcase their skills, their drive, their ambition. But ultimately their comparative degrees, their strong work ethic, their skills, their drive, their ambition, etc., all of that still makes them very attractive employees. But also not forgetting that many South Africans or Durbanites, who have been in the UK have now returned to Durban with that UK experience. And ultimately, if COVID has taught us anything, there's not much difference between having a Zoom call with somebody 10 miles away or 1,000 miles away, except that the Zoom call with the person 1,000 miles away will be 50% cheaper.
The other thing that interested me about that, I mean, when we spoke the other day, Craig, I had no idea that South Africa was an outsourcing or offshoring outpost. And it made sense to me because I thought, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, the exchange rate's great. We're on the same timeline, so there aren't any issues there. And you explained a lot more to me, which I found really interesting. So if we could just cast our minds back to sort of March the 23rd, or even before that, at what point did you see that there might be a problem commercially, generally speaking, within the world?
Well, I think, businesses ideally, and, there's always a bit of a gap between reality and perfection. But businesses should, we would like to think that businesses would routinely visit the efficiencies of their process and procedures. Routinely ask that question, is there a better way for me to do what I'm doing? The reality is that, commercial life is very busy. And we are continually fighting between finding time and making time. And in some ways, COVID now has really forced us in some ways to revisit our process procedures, investigate the possibility or the need to maintain quality, improve the quality of our process and procedures, but while also reducing spend, because cash flow has always been king, but over COVID, it's what's the one above king? So the one concern that I do have is that they've almost been forced to revisit these process and procedures when they are potentially going to be making decisions that are quite compromising, because there are so many other factors that they need to take into consideration that are impacting on the decisions that we make. And we haven't even spoken about Brexit.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So yeah, I mean, I think from the point where we went into COVID, everyone seemed to change. So looking at what's changed in your business, sort of how have you managed to support businesses during COVID then?
I think this also links to the previous question you asked me, and that is it's also around the challenges that employers face of being an employer. It's not easy now being an employer. The cost of employment, the recruitment, the retention, the training, the professional development, all of that does, it adds to the strain and the stresses of an employer, especially at a time like this. So a lot of what we do to support businesses is to help them identify that there is a ready workforce, a talent pool of individuals from a quality perspective that are very much ready and waiting, that can therefore work very nicely as an overflow to whatever demand that they're currently experiencing, because we appreciate that during COVID, some organizations are going to survive, and unfortunately some aren't going to survive. And invariably those that do survive are going to potentially see an increase in the demand of their services, the need for their business, the need for their services, etc. And how do they therefore deal with that increase in demand when it is difficult being an employer? So, we have this talent pool, we have our outsourcing opportunities through our partners in Durban, Affinity Solutions, where these individuals are available to you available to businesses at very short notice, where the price is good, the quality is good, and for the various other positives that I mentioned earlier.
So it sounds great, because I think a lot of people have experienced a lot of peaks and troughs at the moment. Hopefully not too many troughs, but the amount of business that most people are generating at the moment is either higher or lower than it used to be, and having to cope with the changes in workforce at the moment, furloughing as well being another example. It must be particularly challenging. So in terms of the wins that you've experienced since we went into lockdown, what would you say, what wins have you actually experienced as a business?
I think the wins for us as a business mainly comes through the really love engaging with forward-thinking people. Individuals who challenge the status quo, who appreciate that things evolve for a reason, and that if there has not been an evolving in the way in which they look at their process and procedures, then that is not necessarily good business practice.
Agreed. So could you give us a story? Could you give me an idea of the sort of wins that your clients have experienced over the last few months then?
Okay, well, one in particular, for example, is a law firm that deal a lot in conveyancing.
Okay.
Now, for example, when it comes to the conveyancing side, it's very process driven. So from an outsourcing perspective, that is ideal. But what's been really beneficial to our client, and bearing in mind that this client is based in Kent, Kent is having the property market is booming in Kent at the moment, especially with the stamp duty, without individuals having to pay stamp duty until I think it's April. So we've been doing a lot of conveyancing for them. And it just so happens that there are a lot of paralegals back in South Africa who have got UK experience, So there's been the seamless transition of those processes to our outsourcing partners in Durban, where they've got the UK experience, they've got the quality, they're familiar with the system because they've got that UK experience. And ultimately, there has been a significant saving for them because of the exchange rate, without compromising the quality at all.
Fantastic. That's a great story. So what would you say you've learned about yourself during the last few months then, Craig?
That I prefer my children being at school.
A lot of people would agree with that one.
Yes. I think the challenges or the biggest issues has just been trying to get in contact with people. Bearing in mind that so many people are working from home. It's probably a little bit old school in that I would prefer to engage with individuals rather than starting off any kind of relationship via email, although that it seems to be the sign of the times that that's the way in which things are done. So being able to speak to people, engage with people, that is sometimes a little bit of a challenge. As I'm sure you can appreciate, when you go into that sales domain, people are tired of being sold to, and understandably so. But I think it's also then the challenges of once we are engaging with clients, it's very much around workforce planning, and the furloughing of staff and how to maintain output. It's very difficult because this is a new experience that many businesses are experiencing for the first time. So it's working with those individuals, the viability of having access to a pool of staff that is readily available to support any increase in demand, or to support them when their staff are unable to do what they have been employed to do. So I think that's, those have been some issues and some challenges.
Good stuff. So just to go back to after the first lockdown, then what was the first thing you did when you were freed out into the open? What did you do?
First thing I did was went and played golf.
Lovely.
And I'm very, very much passionate about golf. The nice thing about sometimes what I do is that members of quite a few law societies, golf networking societies, and at least then I get the excuse of playing golf under the banner of work. But then that does allow you then to work and find out with people, because I'm sure you can appreciate when you're on a golf course with somebody for 4 hours, you learn so much about them. And I think you also get to that stage in your career and your life where you just want to work with people that you like and enjoy. And there's no point to find out about individuals other than on a golf course. They get to know you, you get to know them, and then the transition into talking business and the trust aspect, it's a lot easier.
I agree 100%, and I noticed some of the best networking meetings I've been to. I haven't tried golf yet. I will do though, because I think it sounds fantastic. But also sitting down to eat with people, I think makes a big difference as well. Because the networking meetings where you walk around with a cup of tea and speak to as many people as you can and throw business cards around, I think those days are gone to an extent. Those events still work with the right people at the right time. But I do like the sort of smaller ones where you get to meet people maybe a little bit more informally and have a good chat and get to know them on a personal level. I find that works really, really well. So just to wrap up,
it's more about the quality of the prospect, rather than volume. You want to meet the right people, engage with the right people, identify, no hidden agendas. It just makes everything a lot smoother and easier.
It does 100%. So then just to wrap up then, if anyone watching this is just wondering exactly who your ideal customer is, maybe they might be your ideal customer, or maybe they might know someone who's an ideal customer for you. You've gone over a few vertical markets earlier on in the conversation, but can you just go over that again so we're very, very clear on who we're looking out for you?
Ultimately, Phil, we're only limited by our imagination. So when it comes to the ideal client, it's someone who is forward-thinking and who wants to challenge the status quo, who wants to have that conversation. And there are many conversations that we have had with businesses where outsourcing is not suitable for them. But it's being able to have that articulate, being open, being transparent, and assessing and reviewing with the individual, have you considered it? Excellent. Then these are the various options, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. In some instances, there are those organizations and businesses who have tried outsourcing and maybe have not the greatest of experiences. But when it comes to those situations, timing is critical. Maybe it was the destination, maybe it was the outsourcing partner. Invariably, time is always a factor. Sometimes, you go back and look at a previous strategy. Yes, originally that strategy didn't work, but it doesn't mean to say that reviewing that strategy or looking at that strategy again under different circumstances won't mean that it won't now work. So it's just about having that open conversation, engaging. Both the directors of Connect Business Solutions have got significant amount of experience in numerous sectors. My business partner, David Thorpe, is very well versed when it comes to the legal sector. And I have been fortunate to work in education, in recruitment, in pharmaceutical, with the Department for Work and Pensions, and various other entrepreneurial type of organizations. So it's just having that conversation and identifying, look, let's see what's going to be in the best interest of the client.
Superb. Thank you very much. That's great to know. So just for those of the people that are actually watching this, if they want to get in contact with you, just to finish up, what's the best way they can contact you, Craig?
Well, I'm always happy for people to call me on my mobile. Am I allowed to give my mobile out? Is that all right, Phil?
Yeah, 100%.
So that's 07939 512 326. Happy to take calls and have those conversations. Or preferably as soon as this lockdown's over, if you want to have a round of golf, definitely not going to say no to that. Or ultimately via email, which I think you said you were going to put at the bottom of the display. So I'll let you do that. And obviously not forgetting that our website is connectbusinesssolutions.co.uk.
Fantastic. Spelled as you'd expect, yeah.
Yes.
Good. Lovely. Well, a pleasure speaking to you, Craig. I'm sure we'll catch up soon. So just wanted to say thank you very much for your time. Really hope that people watching this have got some really good information and an idea as to what you do and how they can think about adapting their business in these challenging times. So just wanted to say thanks again, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon, Craig.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for your time, Phil.
No problem. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Take care. Bye.